Before his death, Sal Mineo revealed the names of closeted gay actors in Hollywood he had secretly dated, and it wasn't pretty. Sal Mineo, the young star who once captivated America in Rebel Without a Cause, left behind a secret list before his untimely death. This list contained the names of well-known gay Hollywood stars who had hidden relationships with Sal. Among them was a man once hailed as a national icon, someone whose involvement ultimately cost Sal dearly, perhaps even his life. Could these shocking revelations have been the reason Sal was permanently silenced? Why did he choose the final chapter of his life to expose the truth? And what hidden secrets were so earth-shattering that they shook Hollywood to its core and were erased overnight without a trace? All of it will be revealed in today's video. Sal Mineo, a bright star, crushed under the weight of fame. With his youthful charm, sharp intellect, and a unique allure that set him apart from other Hollywood actors of his time, Sal quickly became one of the most sought-after names in the industry. He solidified his reputation with standout performances in Giant Exodus and a string of daring roles, becoming the first Italian-American actor to earn 2 Oscar nominations before the age of 23, a record that remains unbroken. However, as one of the first openly LGBT artists brave enough to defy societal norms, Sal was soon pushed out of leading roles, dismissed as too soft for a male image, and isolated by the very film industry that had once hailed him as America's most promising young actor. Yet Sal never gave up. He kept loving, and his very first love was none other than James Dean, the man for whom Sal was willing to risk everything. Bobby Sherman. A love exposed and a scandal that shattered an engagement. By 1963, though, once a blazing star, thanks to Rebel Without a Cause, Sal Mineo had started to fade from the spotlight. The name that once sent young fans into a frenzy was now buried beneath a wave of fresh, rising idols. In a desperate attempt to cling to what fame remained, Sal made a bold move. He went public with his relationship with Jill Howarth, the only daughter of Lewis Howarth, a cold, commanding film producer with the power to sway public opinion in Hollywood with a single phone call. Sal met Jill at a backstage party at the Sunset Tower. She, blonde, red-lipped, and carrying a teasing gaze that seemed to know exactly what every man in the room was thinking, approached him first and called him the sexiest anti-hero on the silver screen. To Sal, Jill was a lifeline, beautiful, famous, untouchable by Hollywood's worst. She was the perfect mask to hide a truth burning inside him, the yearning to love a man. Then came Bobby Sherman, a singer 4 years younger than Sal, with a face full of innocence and eyes that could unravel anyone. They met by chance during a recording session at NBC. Bobby, still grappling with unfamiliar feelings, pulled Sal aside and asked bluntly, "If I don't feel anything when I kiss a girl, is something wrong with me?" Sal laughed, looked at Bobby for a long moment, and said, "There's nothing wrong. You just haven't kissed the right person yet." From that moment on, their secret meetings began at a rooftop apartment in Laurel Canyon, a place Sal had rented under a fake name known to no one. Bobby still called his girlfriend. Sal still went to parties with Jill. But when the night fell, they touched each other like the outside world never existed. But secrets never last. One August night in 1963, after Sal left the Beverly Hills Hotel in tracksuit and dark glasses, a gardener recognized the ring Bobby once wore on television, now on Sal's hand. At the same time, a hotel clerk found a room receipt with matching initials SM and BS, signed in red ink handwriting identical to Bobby's fan letters. Confidential magazine was tipped off. A Cuban journalist tailed Sal for 3 days and snapped a photo that shocked the industry: Sal kissing Bobby's neck beside a car in an underground parking lot, a place they thought was hidden from sight. But the real bomb didn't come from the photo. It came from Jill Howarth. One afternoon, rummaging through Sal's drawer for medication, she stumbled upon a music box. But inside weren't letters or jewelry. It was a cassette tape playing only the heavy breathing of Sal and Bobby. No words, just moans. Enough for Jill to slam the recorder onto the floor and scream like she'd been betrayed by both man and God. She didn't yell. She didn't rip photos. Instead, she mailed a 4-page letter to the Los Angeles Times, along with a copy of the tape. The headline read, "I am Sal Mineo's fiancé, and I heard him love a man." The article dropped on a Monday morning, exploding like an atomic bomb across the entertainment world. Paparazzi swarmed Jill wherever she went. One photo captured her slamming her hands on the steering wheel in a parking lot, crying silently. At the same time, Sal's reps were flooded with contract cancellations, 2 films, a Broadway show, a national talk show, all gone in just 3 days. Bobby Sherman wasn't spared either. His management forced him to sign a statement denying any emotional ties to Sal Mineo. Bobby agreed, but only if all recordings and photos were destroyed. One copy of the tape was burned in the sink of a Universal Studio booth. But the original, no one knows where Sal hid it. And then Sal vanished from public view. A month later, he was spotted sitting alone at a bar near the San Pedro docks, eyes vacant, fingers tracing Bobby's name onto a napkin. When the bartender asked, "You still in love with him?" Sal simply said, "Love? I still dream about him." Meanwhile, Bobby moved on. He returned to the spotlight with a new girlfriend, joking to the press, "I'm a man who loves music, not men." The public applauded. Hollywood forgave. Bobby's career bounced back. Sal. He was left with cassette tapes, a heart blown apart from within, and a growing rumor swelling like a black balloon about to burst. Sal Mineo once had another lover, someone more powerful than Bobby Sherman, more dangerous than James Dean. His name was Paul Newman. And if that secret ever came out, it wouldn't just destroy a career. It could bring down an empire. Are you ready? Because the next chapter is no longer about love. It's war. 2. James Dean, the first love and a tragic one. James Dean. The embodiment of rebellion, sensuality, and defiance didn't just captivate the silver screen. He left Hollywood breathless with a kind of raw, piercing light that felt far too real in a world built on illusions. But that light didn't come from acting alone. It came from a secret James never dared to speak. A secret named Sal Mineo. Sal stepped into James's life like fate right as Rebel Without a Cause began production. While the world saw them as perfectly matched co-stars behind the scenes, they belonged to each other. Not in the way tabloids might report, but in the stolen, burning nights at the Beverly Hills Hotel, where James once whispered to Sal, "If I die, burn all the private footage of us. No one can ever see it." Why would a young, untamed man at the height of fame say such a thing? Because James Dean understood all too well that in Hollywood, a single headline could destroy a life. And then he became the victim of that very prophecy. One day, James received a death threat. An anonymous letter was slipped into his dressing room, written in pig's blood. "Choose your career or your little boyfriend." James panicked. He cut off all contact with Sal for 3 weeks. But Sal wouldn't let go. He went to the Giant set and stood for hours under the sun just to say one sentence, "If you run, I'll die." 3 weeks later, James really did die. A car crash, perhaps. But a nameless mechanic once told Confidential that the brakes on James's Porsche had been tampered with just before the drive. He was paid $12,000 to keep quiet, along with a threat. If you open your mouth, your daughter will never go to school again. No one spoke of it again. And Sal, the only person who knew the car, had been taken to a secret garage 2 days before James drove. It never dared say a word. The trauma consumed Sal. He stuffed cloth under his doors at night, terrified of hidden cameras. Some say he hired an exorcist. Others claim he once called NBC in the middle of the night, sobbing and screaming, "I have a sex tape of James Dean, but I can't hold on to it anymore." The station hung up. 2 weeks later, the office caught fire. Every call record gone, and that was just the beginning. Because the next man to enter Sal's life, Bobby Sherman, carried a secret of his own. A secret that, if you're brave enough, I'll tell you right after this. 3. Paul Newman, the relationship that had to stay hidden. Rumors began swirling in 1960 during the filming of Exodus in Beverly Hills. Paparazzi from Hollywood Reporter started to notice something odd. Paul Newman, then America's ultimate male icon, was frequently seen entering the same small apartment on Benedict Canyon Drive. What raised eyebrows wasn't Newman's presence there, but rather the man who arrived just minutes before him, Sal Mineo. At the time, Sal was struggling to hold on to his fading fame after Rebel Without a Cause. Newman, on the other hand, was at the peak of his career, with a beautiful wife, well-behaved children, and the status of a magazine cover king, flashing a picture-perfect smile and those piercing blue eyes like fire. No one believed these two men had any connection beyond polite greetings until the June 1961 issue of National Enquirer leaked a headline: Paul Newman secretly meeting with an actor who once starred with James Dean. No photos. No mention of Sal's name. But behind newsroom doors, it was whispered that the author Marco Allegri, an Italian journalist, had seen Newman and Sal together in a silver Pontiac, pulling into a secluded parking lot behind the Beverly Hilton. Immediately after the article dropped, Hollywood Reporter arranged an exclusive interview with Sal. Editor Richard Porter confirmed that Sal had confessed, "Paul is the man I love most. And I've never seen eyes like his looking at me, not until that night after the cameras stopped rolling." But that interview was never published. According to an anonymous editor, just 3 hours after the draft hit the internal system, Warner Brothers sent a formal warning: if the article appeared anywhere, all advertising contracts with the publication would be canceled immediately. 2 hours later, the draft was wiped from the servers. That same day, Sal's phone line was cut off. Over the next 3 weeks, the paper's junior editorial staff were almost entirely replaced. Sal was confused and desperate. He tried to call Newman, no answer. He sent letters, no reply. All he received was a folded slip of paper, passed discreetly through an unnamed assistant. It read, "You may not mention me. You may not mention us." Signed simply, P. But what haunted Sal the most was an unreleased tape. According to a source who once worked at Paramount, Sal had recorded their final conversation in which he begged to go public with their relationship. Newman's response: "I love you, just not enough to lose everything for you." Sal hid the tape inside a Super 8 film reel, stashed behind a painting in his Santa Monica apartment. After Sal's death in 1976, that apartment was ransacked by a group of unknown individuals, according to local police reports. Everything in the home remained untouched, except the film reel. It was gone. Paul Newman never spoke of Sal. Not in memoirs, not in interviews, not in any personal record. But Sal's old friends never forgot. They said no heartbreak hurt Sal more than Paul, because Paul was the one man who made him believe love could be real, then treated him like a mistake that needed to be buried alive. But the next name on the list didn't choose silence. 4. Marlon Brando, a brief affair that burned out fast. Rumors first began to surface in 1962, when Sal was frequently spotted near the sets where Marlon Brando was filming, and was repeatedly seen leaving hotels in the same taxi Brando often used. A room service staffer at the Chateau Marmont recalled he called room 304, but the one who answered was Mr. Brando. After that, neither of them came out all night. Brando was known for being both irresistibly charming and fiercely private. But according to an insider at Confidential magazine, it was Brando himself who made the first move at a party hosted by Elia Kazan. What followed was a string of quiet encounters. Drink sex, then silence. Sal loved intensely. Brando didn't. Their relationship was turbulent, passionate one moment, cold, and distant the next. One day, Brando would call Sal a talent never truly loved the way he deserves. The next, he would vanish completely, cutting off all contact. One night, Sal made dozens of unanswered calls. The following morning, an assistant returned a shirt Sal had left behind, along with a handwritten note, "I don't grow feelings for anyone." The affair ended as quickly as it had begun. No goodbye. No explosive scandal. Just another deep scar left on Sal's heart. But a few months later, a short piece in Movieland Confidential sent shockwaves through the industry. Brando once spent the night with a young actor known for playing gay roles, but who was the one who truly fell in love? No one responded. No confirmations. No denials. But in Hollywood, silence is often the most painful confession. And after Brando, the whispers shifted. No more public romances, no more daring dates, just shadowy setups, undefined connections, the kind no one admitted to, yet no one dared deny. 5. Tony Perkins and Brandon D. Wilde, quietly connected through a hidden matchmaker. A former assistant to Paul Newman left behind a stunning revelation in a diary that surfaced after his death. Paul didn't just cut Sal off, he tried to redirect him. Tony and Brandon were his suggestions. A discreet kind of matchmaking. Among men who were alike, but never allowed to say so. The March 1965 issue of Movieland Confidential once hinted. 3 male stars, one famous for Psycho, one for Rebel, and one for Shane, were spotted leaving the same penthouse 10 minutes apart. The article was pulled from newsstands just 6 hours after release, officially due to a printing error. But within the inner circle of Hollywood gossip, it was widely known there was indeed a meeting of 3. And Sal was at the center of it. A hotel manager at the Beverly Hilton once discreetly recorded in an internal report, "One night room 508 ordered 3 meals, but the name on the door was only Sal Mineo." At the same time, Tony Perkins was filming just 10 minutes away, and Brandon D. Wilde was reported attending a charity event, right behind the hotel, separated only by a wall. Perkins was known for his intensely private life, long rumored to have had a relationship with Tab Hunter. Brandon D. Wilde was even more mysterious. After a few breakout roles, he abruptly vanished from the screen with no explanation. In a leaked 1968 casting file, a handwritten note appeared next to D. Wilde's name. "Do not pair with Sal raises too many questions." One night during a drunken conversation with his last close friend, Sal said, "I used to think Paul leaving me was like a knife in the back. But no, he didn't stab me. He walked me into the woods and left me with the wolves without a word." No one truly knows what happened between Sal, Perkins, and Brandon. But in Hollywood, where even whispers become headlines, their collective silence said more than any statement ever could. And what made the mystery even heavier after Sal's death? Both men refused to answer any questions about him. At a Palm Springs party, when a reporter asked Perkins, "Did you know Sal Mineo?" he got up and walked away without a word. Brandon DeWild responded through a note from his manager. No comment. No connection. What was between the three of them? A secret rendezvous, an unreleased tape, or just a lifelong pattern of avoiding what could never be acknowledged? No one knows for sure. Only that in a 1966 journal entry, Sal wrote a single line. "They didn't kill me. They just didn't save me." And after a trail of love affairs filled with silence, denial, and abandonment, Sal finally found someone who stayed openly fully and refused to erase his name after he was gone. 6. Courtney Burr, the final lover and the most tragic love of all. And so, we come to the last name on the list, Courtney Burr. The one who stayed. The one who witnessed Sal Mineo descend into the deepest abyss of his life. Courtney wasn't famous like James. He wasn't glamorous like Newman or dangerous like Brando. He was an acting coach, quiet and private. But he knew every name that had passed through Sal's life. And Sal knew this was the only man who didn't come to take but came to stay. They lived together for 6 years, quietly, away from cameras, away even from their neighbors' eyes. Every time Sal was overwhelmed by paranoia, Courtney would lock himself in the room with him, turn off all the lights, play soft music, and hold his hand until he fell asleep. The world called Courtney a roommate. But neighbors heard the muffled sobs after midnight, the whispered names, the quiet desperation of two lovers hiding from the world. Then came the night of February 12, 1976. Sal was stabbed outside his own door. Blood spilled across the sidewalk, his keys still in the lock. And the first to open that door was Courtney. According to police reports, Courtney sat beside Sal's body for more than 7 minutes before calling 911. He didn't scream. He didn't panic. He just said one sentence to the dispatcher: "The man I love has been murdered." But that wasn't the story the press wanted. Within 24 hours, headlines exploded. Who was the last man to see Sal Mineo alive? Co-star rival killer Hollywood Inquirer ran an exclusive Sal's death, the dangerous love affair that lasted 6 years, finally exposed. They didn't let Courtney rest. A reporter broke into the apartment, photographed the interior, and described an unopened bottle of red wine, 2 half-filled glasses in the fridge, clear evidence that Sal had dinner with someone that night. They turned Courtney from lover to suspect. From suspect to the untrustworthy survivor. No one asked how he felt. No one remembered how he helped Sal take his antidepressants each night. No one mentioned it was Courtney who hid Sal's final tape, the one where Sal listed every man who slept with me, then erased me. After the funeral, Courtney went to the cemetery alone. No friends. No family of Sal's. No one from the film industry. Just him and a bouquet of white flowers placed on a grave still labeled "Controversial Death." Courtney never gave interviews, never wrote a memoir, never sought recognition for his love. Only once in a letter to an old friend of Sal's, he wrote a single line: "They think I survived. But I died the same night he did. I just wasn't buried." Courtney Burr, the final lover. The only one who stayed until the end. And the one treated by the media not as a mourner, but as a headline. Sal died at the hands of a stranger. But his real death was when the last man who loved him was also labeled a scandal.